Good morning, everybody. As you all know, I'm Brother Will. It's Bible Biker Church, and we are making a lot of positive progress in the things that we're doing. If you're watching from a website, hopefully soon this wall won't be here. There'll be 12 more feet of worship area that we're building that will also have a stage for our band. Right now we're not really filming our music or anything like that because we're not really being prepared. But if you're watching now, we've already started our worship this morning with songs and praise to God. We've opened in prayer, and we have been blessed. Each and every one of us here has been blessed. We've gone through a lot of sicknesses. The devil has tried to defeat us all along the way, but just following God's plan, we have been truly blessed. And God has continued to bless us, and He will continue to bless us. This week we've had some tragedies, and I know everybody's talking about it. We've had another school shooting, and what I feel in my heart from this now is our children are scared. They're not only standing up and asking us to help make change, they've had enough of it, and they're standing up and demanding that change be made. So how do we make that change? How do we sit there and tell our children that we're going to make change when we've so many times said there needs to be change and nothing's been done about it? As disciples, we're already working on making change in society. And as disciples, we can continue to do what we've been doing and do it more diligently, knowing that our children are scared. And part of this message today is going to be about fear and how to make change, and how we as disciples go out and make change in our daily lives. What we do and what we need to continue doing. I'm going to start off today reading out of Psalms chapter 27. And I'm going to read the first 6 verses out of that. And this is David praising God. And there's something that we can take from this and just know that this was going on way back then before the Bible was ever written, and know that still to this day we still have this. Psalm 27 verse 1. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even mine enemies and foes, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. See, the Lord is in my life. When my enemies rise up against me, they're going to stumble and fail. Even if they try to destroy me by taking my life, they're still going to stumble and fail because I get to spend an eternity with God. All my problems on this earth are gone. So why would I be in fear of my enemy trying to destroy me when I know that I have a better home? See, in this day and time, we celebrate birth and we mourn death. If a child of God passes away, we're going to miss them. If I was to lose my family member, I would miss them being in my life. So selfishly, I would mourn for me because I won't have that person with me anymore. But I won't mourn for the person that died because I know where they're going to be, and I'm going to celebrate the fact that they're up there with my Father. So the mourning part is just the missing part. So enemy rises up against me, or enemy rises up against one of my Christian brothers and sisters to destroy them, I know they failed. Even if they take their life here, they've given them life eternal. They've not failed. They've not succeeded in destroying someone. They failed. Though an host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise against me, in this I will be confident. I still will have no fear. There is a war rising up against us. It's been rising up against us. It's always going to be rising up against us. There is always going to be fear and turmoil all around us. God is with us. Who shall we fear? We always have the saying out there, fear the Lord, the fear of the Lord. That's a totally different fear. I fear the Lord because I fear failing the Lord. I fear that I'm not going to do enough of what I've been called to do and I'm going to come up short. But guess what? Even though I fear that, there's always going to be forgiveness for me. So my fear of the Lord is the fact that I'm not going to do enough. I fear the Lord in a way of knowing that if I don't do what the Lord has called me to do, I'm not going to be happy. So then I do what the Lord tells me to do, and I know that there's a peace. I've already found that out in my life. There is a peace in answering God's calling. One thing I have desired, or one thing have I desired of the Lord, that I will seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord, and to inquire in his temple. For in time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me up upon a rock, and now shall mine head be lifted up above mine enemies round about me. Therefore will I offer in his tabernacle sacrifices of joy. I will sing, yea, I will sing praises unto the Lord. So many times when tragedy strikes, we call upon the Lord. That's what the Lord wants us to do. But here's the thought. If we only call upon the Lord when tragedy strikes, we're going to feel like, Lord, can you help me? Basically, God's kind of like a distant relative that you hardly ever see. But when something happens, you just kind of let them know what's going on and try to get support from that person. But if you walk with God every day and you try to do what God has called you to do, you try to have a personal relationship with God, then once that's all said and done, when tragedy strikes, it's not like you're calling upon somebody that you only call upon when troubles happen. He's already there with you. He is already there with you regardless. But our mindset is, oh, I need to call the Lord for help. You need to lean on God every day, all day, and walk with God so that regardless of any trouble that you're going through, God is with you. God's walking hand in hand with you. Okay? Now, as disciples, how do we make the change? We need to be very diligent in what we do when we're out in society. I've been to a men's seminar before where the man said, if I go every day and reach 3 people, just go every day and witness to 3 people, and tell those 3 people, if they could go every day and witness to 3 people, and then the 3 people they go to every day, are you following me on how that multiplies? One person can make that change. As long as we make the determination in our lives to go out and just speak to one person. If you speak to one person, that one person can speak to another person, that one person can speak to another person. There's so many people. It's like the whole pyramid effect. If we go out and try to spread the joy of the Lord. Now, there are going to be times when we go out and do that, and we already know that because we've already been told. People are going to hate us. There's so much hate in this world right now that people hate everything. We ourselves as Christians can go out to do what we're going to do, knowing that at some point, somebody is going to try to shut us down. But in the same sense with what I've read, regardless of who's out there, who shall I fear? This is what we need to teach our children. You know, we had this happen in Columbine. And we all as Christians know the story of the girl who would not denounce Jesus. Did her enemy destroy her? No. They took her life here on earth. They did not destroy her. They did not break her. And they did not defeat her. Because she would not denounce Jesus. We need to teach our kids not to live in fear, but to live under the protection of God, knowing that bad things are going to happen. But when bad things happen, there's always going to be somebody there for them. People are going to fail us. And we're going to fail God. But we're not going to have to live in that fear of what is going to happen to me. See, I know that the Lord chose me because I'm a protector. I'll protect anybody around me. Do I fear being hurt? I shouldn't. Pain, to me, I was in the Marine Corps. I was always taught pain is just fear under the skin. Now, things hurt, but I don't fear being hurt because I know that hurt heals. Now, I'm not going to go jump off a mountain and say I don't fear anything. You know, God gave me common sense too. You know, there's a difference in fear of being hurt and having common sense of knowing if I do that, I'm going to get hurt. You know, but Jesus told the disciples, and this is one thing that we also need to remember when we're out there, knowing that we have no reason to fear anyone. Jesus told the disciples in Matthew chapter 10, I'm going to read verses 16 and 17. When he told the disciples, when he was sending the disciples out, to go out, he told them where to go, he told them where to avoid, and things of that nature. But the one thing that he told them to remember is, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Now this is where our children are right now. When they're demanding that someone help them not have to live in that fear. And we as Christians are sheep in the midst of wolves. Who protects those sheep? Who's been set out to protect the sheep from the wolves? There's a shepherd there. And that shepherd will not only give his life protecting the sheep, but our shepherd has already given his life for us. You know, Jesus died on the cross for us. The price has been paid for us. And it says, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents, and harmless as doves. That means I'm going out knowing what could happen. I'm going out with that common sense that God gave me. If I do something to get hurt, I'm going to get hurt. But if I go out without fear of being hurt, I'm going to get the job done that God has called me to do. And it says, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. That means when I go out, I don't go out to cause pain to anybody. I don't go up against the wolves to cause pain to the wolves. I go out wise against those wolves, and I try to convince those wolves that there's a better way. I try to convince those wolves to be harmless as doves like me. I set the example in the life that I live. When people see the way that I go out to deliver God's message, they can see Christ in me. And that's how it's supposed to be. But Jesus said himself, be wise as a serpent. Know what you're going into. Goes right along with that common sense too. If you are a small person that you know that someone could try to tower over and bully, don't go into the biggest place in the world and insert yourself into something that you know before you go in there people would be wanting to cause you harm. Don't go into like a hate group by yourself. Use common sense. Be wise as a serpent to know, if I'm going to go do this and God's called me to do this, let me get somebody to go in there and help me. That way you can go in there without fear. It's not wise to go somewhere where you know that you're going to be hated by yourself without someone with you. You're always going to have God with you. Always listen to God. I don't want to contradict what I'm saying here today. God's going to tell you where to go. Don't fear where God tells you to go, because God will protect you. But use common sense when you set out on a day to go do things because you know in your heart that you need to go. Get somebody to go with you. Ask your brothers and sisters, hey, God wants me to go do this today. Why don't you come with me and go? We're a support group for each other. We gather here as a group to worship God. There's no reason we can't go out as a group to spread God's word. We're here to protect each other too. You know, God could protect you in a way of sending someone with you to make sure that you're going to be okay. So don't take that as a contradiction of what I'm trying to get across. I'm telling you, there's no reason to fear anything that you're doing. God gave you common sense. You know where you're about to go, if you're going to need someone to go with you or not. It doesn't mean don't go in there. It just means be wise about what you're doing. Know where you're at. Know what's around you. And know that God is going to protect you above all. It says, but beware of men, for they will deliver you up to councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues. That part to me, where it says beware of man, doesn't mean beware of man trying to come up against you right there to just grab you up and shake you around. It also to me means beware of the people that you go to going around behind your back and saying, you know, this person right here, they're going to try to destroy you inside too. So when I talk about when you go out and people trying to destroy you, I don't mean that they're trying to take your life in a physical way. They're also going to try to discredit you in a spiritual way. Don't let them do it. By don't let them do it, I mean keep a positive attitude and know that God is there to protect you. As long as you're doing what God told you to do, that is the defense that you need for anything that comes up against you. If someone says you're not doing what God told you to do, and you know that you're doing what God told you to do, you stick with it and stay the course. Don't let people deter you from that. So the way that we as a church protect our children who live in fear in these times, we teach our children spiritually. We teach our children to continue to keep a close relationship with God. Don't only call on God when you're in trouble and you need somebody to bail you out. Walk with God everywhere you go. For the children that we have today out in the world, we should consider every child in the world as our family that we would want to protect, whether we know them or not. Teach them how to avoid that fear. Teach them how to make changes in the way that God would have us make the changes. And just don't forget that God is with you everywhere you go. Do I live in fear? No. Do I know how to protect myself? Yes. Do I know how to protect my brothers and sisters? Yes. We're a biker church. We got a bunch of bikers and a bunch of people who have lived that rough life in the past. But in the same sense, as people who have lived that rough life in the past, it is our duty, the reason that God called us to do what we do, is to help make others feel safe. And until we can go out and do the job of making others feel safe, then we've not done everything that God's called us to do. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to dismiss in prayer, and then we're going to take prayer requests. So during that, we'll go ahead and cut the film off. And God bless everybody.